there's been a massive shift in you from where you started to where you're at now within you that has shown up externally. And I remember in the beginning, there was a high focus on wanting to do the external things to get the internal shift versus then focusing on internal shift to create the external things. So I'd love for you to just start out by telling the clients here, whatever you're comfortable with, where you were when you came into the program, what your beliefs, your energy, your results, just give us a baseline understanding of 2.5 years ago, please.
Okay, so I began with a program like this, kind of. It was The Road Back, I think was the name of it, something of that sort. And it was during the pandemic. And I was coming off of a couple of years of just being wobbly anyway, when a lot of the other firms were making a lot of money. And I was like, I've got over 20 years of recruiting experience. What's holding me back? What are we doing? What are we not doing? Our clients are just not hiring, and those sorts of beliefs. But then also when the pandemic started, I thought, I'm going to try this Road Back program. And it really opened my eyes. You were a part of it, Francis, Mike, just going through the program and having a look at the optimizer model and the ideas of certain revenue, and just taking a good non-judgmental look at what was going on in our business and what could be better and what things are possible. What are other people doing? And you're right. I was thinking a little more externally in the beginning, and working with you, I believe I had a sort of an intake call with Priscilla. Priscilla asked me some fabulous questions that led to some clarity. And then working with Francis and Kathleen, Francis on the mindset part, which is, as I discovered, a huge part because it brought so much clarity to, oh, I must be thinking this way, even though I always thought of myself as a positive person and somebody that believed, or tried to believe in myself kind of thing. When I started the mindset work, I realized that there were some internal beliefs that I was not even recognizing. And so once I got past some of that, it's like Francis said earlier, you can't unsee some of those things. You can't unsee that if you build it, it will happen. If you continue believing in yourself, and that beliefs are decisions, if I make a decision to do something, then I can make it happen. I've gone through a lot of stages with, oh, I wish I was training more. I wish I was following the training. There's so much available with the programs, with Francis on the mindset work. And then Kathleen, when I started working with Kathleen, I was an amoeba, and she was just trying to get me to make decisions and be more exact and specific and precise about what I needed to do for recruiting for the process part. So having that coaching part of it too is great, and having the metrics portal and understanding those and understanding how they relate to my business and personalizing those as when I make this many calls, this is what happens, and you record it over time and you realize it, and then it takes some of that anxiety away. So there's so many facets of the program and so much in the learning library and the portals that each time we have that visit and I reset, or each week when we have the group calls, I feel like, okay, I'm resetting. Other people are doing this. This is what I can do. And it's been quite easy to keep going.
Thank you so much for that. You said a few key points there. Now, if you don't have to give any information that you do not feel comfortable with, only share the information that you do feel comfortable with. But I remember on the course of our coaching, a few key areas where you've had some big shifts that are probably going to help you quite a bit if there is any recession coming up. And that was, you mentioned metrics. I'd love for you to talk about where you started. I remember some quite resistance to tracking metrics there. The shift from then till now, your money mindset. I know we've done some deep work on your money mindset and decisions there. And then the other thing that comes to my mind as your coach is around organization, how you viewed yourself going through a day as a recruiter and how that has shifted. So 3 things then now.
Yeah, when we started, I would say I was uncertain about money. I was uncertain that if I worked, anything could happen necessarily. Even though I had been doing the work for over 20 years, I felt like I don't have the right clients. I'm not saying the right things to them. I'm not good at marketing. I felt all of those things. And I'm more coming in as the Ignite. My husband and I run this business, so I didn't have any employees at the time. And I thought hiring employees would be so tough also. But in the beginning, my revenue was completely uncertain. But like you said, having an aversion to starting the metrics, but believing if I track these and starting to track them helped me see what was going on in my business and how many calls I needed to make a submittal and how many submittals I needed to make an interview to get a first time interview, and then how many marketing calls I needed to make to get a job order. And so those metrics, knowing that those are a somewhat changing thing, you can plan the future and have a little bit more certainty of revenue if you are tracking your metrics and understanding individually what's happening in your business. And so there's this metrics portal that you input the numbers and it just lays it out there. You're making 5 calls to get one job order, or you're making 10 calls to get one job order, and you're submitting 5 candidates to get one interview, or however your metrics are. It lays it out what's been happening in your business. And it just helped me a lot with clarity and also feeling certain about my business. It clicked. And I realized too that also metrics were scary to me because I thought I'm going to have to just be saddled to the phone making these metrics numbers all the time. And that is what I'm going to be doing. And when in reality, I realized that my metrics were a little better than I thought in some areas. And so I didn't have to make as many calls, but if I did consistently make this many each day and connect with as many people, then things would happen and it would naturally flow.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is a great tale. And the other things that just to ping your memory was about organization and how you went about in your day. Because I know one of the big things that you and I worked on, you value your role as mother, and your life can be so different. One day you're traveling here for your, I don't want to give up too much information, but if you want to talk about it, the things you and your family do, and then there's recruiter days and travel days. And if you want to speak to that, how having this mindset and having the structure helped you in that versus where you started, where it was like an either or and scattered and distracted and disorganized, if that makes sense.
Yes, just managing being a mom and being a recruiter and wanting to socialize or play tennis or keep my house clean. And there's a number of things that, on a daily basis that run through the mind. And having a program like this really helped me understand, first of all, I'm not the only one managing this. And second, if I take off at 2:00 in the afternoon and go to a tennis match for my daughter or whatnot for school stuff, then all I have to do is know that I've planned for that during the week. And if I plan at the beginning of the week, then I can fit a lot of those things in. And if I'm going out of town to travel, or if I've had some losses since I started the program, so if I've taken the time off, what can I do, Kathleen and Francis, what can I do about my business to keep it running while I'm gone? Metrics help with that. And the planning helps so much with that, because otherwise the business was running me versus me running the business. And I wasn't taking a look at my business. I was just overwhelmed every day. I was an overwhelm.
Yeah, a lot of overwhelm and reactivities. Thank you for sharing that. Is there anything, just final thoughts, is there anything that we didn't ask that you feel led to share with the people here?
Yeah, I just think something that I had to learn was that responsibility is freedom. When I'm taking responsibility for what I'm doing and I'm not judging it, to learn not to judge those things and not to judge what happened in the past and to look at the gains of what I have made, it really helps. And like I said, looking at the weekly calls and seeing the wins from everyone and seeing what can be done. You see someone else doing something that a lot of times it tells you that you can do that something. And I wrote down also that you taught me that beliefs are decision, and just learning how much the mindset and exploring that, how important that is, and visiting with people personally rather than by email or messaging and so forth.
So good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such an honor to coach with you. And I've always loved your energy. It's never about perfection, it's about progress and movement forward. And that's
Yeah.
definitely where we need to be for anything that comes up in our life, recession or any kind of challenge. So thank you for all of that. Mike, anything
Thank you.
else that you want to ask? Or
Thank you for inviting me in.
let me rethink that decision.
You said some really neat things that I just want to summarize, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because this is where from what you said, Shannon, which I find amazing and remarkable, and I'm really happy and proud of you, happy for you, proud of you. And this is what I want people to hear is if you do the math, she was in an overwhelmed state, has got kids, a life, a husband, and it's like, how do I integrate to maximize all of this? So she's not talking about decreasing her revenue so she can go to her daughter's tennis matches. How do I do both? How do I grow my company? How do I grow my level of satisfaction in the business? And how do I have all the time I want available to spend with my children and my spouse, right? And then with metrics and things like that, it allows you, what I heard you say is you engineered all that. All right, I know I'm going to be gone at 2:00, so I know I need X amount of presentations this week, so I can figure that in my week and make sure that happens. So we still hit the financial goal, and I'm with my daughter. It's not like when I'm with my daughter, I'm my mind at work going, oh my gosh, I really should be doing this because we're behind financially. Or when I'm at work and I can't go to my daughter saying I can't believe I'm missing a tennis match. We get into that mode. And I remember I had a similar dilemma as a dad, Shannon. This is 20-something years ago. My children are adults now, but I remember a coach going, what does both look like? Because I was in this either or situation, either this or that. He goes, what has to be true to have both? So it's a question I'll leave you all with too, right? Is when you get into those quandaries, what has to be true to have both? And I love the way you engineered all that. I just wanted to take those summary points because she's not compromising her revenue that she wants for herself. And she's not compromising her time with her children. There's a both there.
Yeah, not even a both. It's grown. It's expanded, hasn't
Actually,
it?
both have grown.
They both have grown. They both expanded.
Yeah, that's something I didn't really touch on, is that how much my certainty of revenue, it's not even that the certainty part of it, but also the growth. I had a 2.5 times growth in interview and over the course of the first year or so. And it was surprising, but it began to feel expected. And so the investment that I made with doing this program, certainly, and I'm not trying to sell the program necessarily, but it was so easy to calculate, like you said earlier, Michael, when you're thinking of getting a researcher or whatnot, you think about what sort of return is this giving me?
So, and one last question, especially as a working mom. Are you working longer hours in your business to have the 2.5 time growth and to spend the time with your kids?
No, because I'm working a little more efficiently. That's something I'm increasing, but learning to block time and do certain tasks at certain times and commit to doing certain tasks so that the week doesn't get by without me making marketing calls or without me putting in the time to work with my researcher on lists or whatnot, thinking about looking at my business overall. Those are things that can fit in and still do all of those things. It's just the way I look at it. And like you say, Michael, don't take a vacation at your desk all the time.
I'll teach a little bit more on that later because I can go off on tangents, so I'm not going to. Thank you so much, Shannon.